I can't hear.
Hey, Bill, you're muted.
Bill, you're muted. You got to unmute. Sorry, I muted you. Hey, Bill, try space bar.
Okay, now we got it this time, I think. Is that better?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, very good. Yeah, at a few minutes after 6 o'clock, I'd like to call the February 15th, 2021 meeting of the Avon Redevelopment Commission to order. And next up on the agenda are the minute approvals from January 18th of 2021. Any questions, comments?
No questions. I'd like to move that we approve minutes.
Second.
We're going to do a roll call, Ryan?
Yeah, you want me to do a roll call, Bill?
Please, yes, thank you.
Okay. Gary Cook,
Yes.
Grant Niemeyer,
Here.
Bill Reed,
4.
Jason Tuttle,
4.
Harold Heiser.
4.
Approved 5-0.
Very good. Thank you all very much for that. Next are the invoices. Ryan, is this everything in total that we're aware of at this point? Is anything else out there we're unaware of?
Nope, this is everything that we've got and we're aware of at the time.
Okay, very good. Any questions, comments on the invoices as presented?
Ryan, I had a quick question. Are these lump sum contracts for like a structure point? I was just curious.
Some of them vary, Grant. Some of them are typically they're lump sum agreements, but sometimes they have items in them that are hourly, depending on what the item is. Like sometimes most of the design work is lump sum.
Mm-hmm.
But then sometimes like geotech and some of those other things are not, depending on depending on their design, they may need more or less than those things hourly not to exceeds.
Yeah. Okay. Well, the one of the reasons that stood out to me that I was questioning was the survey. I thought the survey was done, but if it's lump sum, they may just be billing percentage, as they go. So that's the only reason I was asking.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what they're doing, Grant. They're invoicing based on percentage complete. And
Okay.
so like if they're still doing some of the right-of-way engineering and stuff like that, which is what they're doing right now, sometimes they include some of that in their survey until they're all the way done with that. They don't bill 100% on the surveying.
Okay. Thanks.
Any other questions regarding the invoices as presented?
I'll make
Let me
them.
just mention one that's a little bit goofy. The Indiana Department of Transportation one for the community crossing matching grant. If you guys recall, the town got $1 million grant for paving Dan Jones Road. And so the total contract ended up coming in slightly under. It came in at about 1.8 million instead of 2 million. And so the difference that it was below 2 million had to be divided by 2, which meant we owed them back some money because the grant's 50-50, but they give us the money up front. So we're actually paying them back a portion of the grant funds that they actually gave us. So they gave us $1 million, and unfortunately we're giving back 65,000, but that also means that the contract came in under budget. So that was obviously good as well. So just wanted to explain that one.
I believe I heard a motion on the floor to accept the invoices in total as presented.
Yes, I'll make a motion. We accept the invoices as presented.
I'll second. Ryan, I think you're muted, actually, no.
Sorry. Grant Niemeyer,
Approve.
Harold Heiser,
4.
Bill Reed,
4.
Gary,
4.
and Jason.
4.
Approved 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Old business, Ryan, is there anything pending out there that we're still looking at?
I do not have any old business for you.
Okay, thank you. On the new business, I see 2 parts here, and thank you again, Rand, for sending out the amended information on the declaratory resolution for the Redevelopment Commission. First off, the police department evidence dryer proposal. What do we know, Rand?
Yeah, I'm going to turn it over to Deputy Chief Brian Nugent. He's on here. He just popped on. So I'm going to turn it over to him, kind of let him explain what he's looking for.
Yeah, thanks for your time, guys. I appreciate it. We've gone several years without having to be a part of any of the RDC meetings, and it's the second time now within probably the last 6 or 7 months that we've been here with you. So I kind of an unusual circumstance, but the more I talked to Ryan, we kind of thought this was the appropriate platform to have this conversation and proposal. So in your packet, I believe you have a memo that kind of outlines the fact that our police headquarters was established back in 2006, 2007. The design itself went through several enhancements, changes, modifications over the couple of years during the development phases of that. And one of the items in there was evidence dryer. Back in 2007, I was not in administration, I was in investigations division. And one of the things that always fell to us was processing evidence. And so while it's not always necessary to process evidence inside of a sterile laboratory, there's some basic platforms that we have to make sure that we're covering in terms of evidentiary standards. And so during the building process, I wish I could tell you why this happened. All I'm informed is that our previous administration had removed this item from our building. And so for the last couple of years, as in 7 or 8 years, these items that would normally need to be dried properly were laid out on parchment paper or on paper on the floor in the room. We've gotten to the point where that's not only was that should not have ever really been an initial approach to handling evidence properly. We're to the point now where the space is becoming more premium. And so this dryer conversation came up a couple of months ago. So in the bottom of that memo, you'll see 2 photographs. One of them shows that the area that this dryer was to be installed in was purposely created during the design phases. You'll see the opening in between the cabinets. You'll actually see a flue that comes down from the ceiling in that room in anticipation of that dryer being installed several years ago. And we're in a position where we have an employee who is transitioning to be a crime scene investigator, which is a massive improvement in our operations. And so we are in the process of gathering all of the protocols to ensure that we're handling our evidence on the most serious of cases in accordance with state statutes, state requirements, and laboratory expectations. And I can assure you that the days of leaving evidence to dry on the floor in a room with poor ventilation is going to be a case vulnerability that will be attacked by defense counsels on pending cases that we have. So we did some research. The vendor Searchy is a very popular vendor. They specialize in forensic equipment in the field, and the dryer that they have is actually the cheapest version of a dryer that's available. It complies with all sorts of stipulations in terms of air purification, all of the HEPA filters and all of that. We would not actually need to run the flue like we anticipated back in 2007 with this machine. And it was actually, they reduced the price and included the shipping compared to what you would see it on the website for. So we do believe that this meets the criteria for benefiting the TIF district in the sense that TIF districts that we have are obviously areas that we provide police service to. We believe that this ability to handle this evidence properly does present that benefit to the TIF district. And just requesting that you consider the purchase of this item to help us kind of finalize what was initially created to be the evidence processing center for our PD. So happy to answer or clarify any questions that you may have. I think the memo is pretty short. It's pretty simple, but I know we all like to have context, at least I do. and understanding what, what brought us to this point. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Deputy Chief, has this ever been requested through a line item within the police department's budget?
So when the building was built, 2006, 2007, I can't answer as to whether or not that was done. There were no records provided to us as an agency about why this was cut. We went back and looked at memos. If you're not familiar with the process, our building went through quite a bit of a litigation process between the company that designed the building. The building sat empty for about a year and a half before some standards were enhanced on the structural integrity of that. This is not an item that we can afford in our budget right now with the operations. And so my understanding was that there was agreement to make this purchase early 2006, 2007, but for some reason it was actually pulled from the plan. So I wish I could answer that question. I just do not have those historical documents to know if that's the case.
Okay, and my only other question is, you've got, and it's a nice presentation you've got here, includes the price plus the shipping. Who will install it?
I think, I'm sorry, someone's got some background noise. I can hear what you're saying for the
Okay.
most part. Are you asking about installing it?
Yes, who will install the dryer?
Yeah, so we will handle that. So the company would ship this directly to our headquarters. It literally is as simple as plugging it into the wall and doing the initial setups for people to actually access the doors and actually use it itself. There's no elaborate system where it has to be attached to any sort of a data port or gas line or anything like that. It's literally a plug and play type piece of equipment.
Okay. Well, as a retired police officer, I have no problem with this.
Yeah.
I think that any type of equipment that the police department can obtain to help serve the public and make your jobs easier, I'm all for it.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, sir.
So does this system have any kind of security on it, like as far as locks or access to certain employees, or I assume the room does?
Yeah, so then essentially your question actually builds upon your approval for the electronic access system that you guys had purchased through Haley Lock and Key for us.
Mm-hmm.
Our buildings just went through that upgrade that you guys approved. This room is got 2 layers of those doors. And so the only persons that have access to this work area are investigators, and they're not even going to have access to the items inside of this dryer because that has to have strict accountability for chain of custody. And so access would not be given to this room, much less the cabinet, to all but the investigators and our crime scene investigator herself.
Okay, that's good.
Any other questions, comments for Deputy Chief Nugent? Then Ryan,
I would like.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go right. No, Gary, you're fine.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we approve this request on behalf of the Avon Police Department.
I'll second that.
Gary Cook,
Yes.
Grant,
4.
Jason,
4.
Bill,
4.
Harold.
4.
Didn't hear you.
All right. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate your support and your help with this. It's a big piece for us to have in our building. I truly appreciate you guys.
Thank you. I personally appreciate you guys. Be safe out there.
We will. Thank you, sir.
You guys are great, Deputy. You know that. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Yep.
Thanks.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay, Ryan, the declaratory resolution for the Avon Redevelopment Commission, Resolution 2021-01. Now, I know again, you passed on that update this afternoon. Thanks again for doing that.
Yeah, hopefully you guys kind of all saw that update.
Yeah.
Just a brief history of this. We had talked about this actually at the end of last year. A declaratory resolution is actually a statement of the Redevelopment Commission's interest in creating a new TIF district. And so this particular TIF district that we're looking at is what we're going to refer to as the Ronald Reagan Parkway Economic Development Area South. And so if you recall, back in 2019, you created a Ronald Reagan Parkway Economic Development Area North, which is where Avon Landing is located. This south one is where the Reagan Logistics Park is proposed to be built. And they have asked for us to be able to assist with potentially helping them extend some utilities to the site, as well as there's a road that will actually need to be put in that will eventually connect to All Points Parkway that's in the town of Plainfield. So there are some infrastructure costs they were asking for some assistance to do. And as in all things, when we do this, we have to understand that when we do it, we think that if we weren't going to do it, that the development wouldn't occur. And the costs of doing this infrastructure work would be detrimental to the site to actually be developed. And so that's why we're creating this TIF district, so that we can capture that tax to then be able to pay for those infrastructure. So the declaratory resolution is your statement. It does have to go through, this is the first step in the process. It does come back to the Redevelopment Commission eventually as a confirmatory resolution. So you are starting the process. It will have to go to the Plan Commission. It will also have to go to the Town Council. And everyone will basically have to agree that this is an area that's desirable for economic development, and that these improvements would be needed in order for the development to occur. And then, like I said, it'll come back to the Redevelopment Commission once everyone else has said they agree with your guys' position. And then you will officially confirm it and then create the actual TIF district. So a couple of the things that were in there, I just want to, I noted the changes. One was what we thought would be the infrastructure reimbursement costs, which we've put at approximately $3 million. We think that's a little bit high. We think it'll actually be less based on the input we've gotten from the developer at this point. But we built in a little bit of excess there just in case. We also modified slightly the categories, and this was really at the recommendation of our bond counsel, to have a little broader range of the things that are eligible for reimbursement. So what they cautioned us, I was very strict about what was going to be in there. So I basically just said utility extension, road reconstruction, a traffic signal, and that was it. And so our bond counsel really said, hey, that's, if they come back and they asked you for, can you help with fiber or can you help with drainage, we would have had to go through this whole process again. So I just broadened the categories of the things that are eligible for reimbursement if the developer were to come back and ask the Redevelopment Commission for assistance with that. So, and then the final thing was just the attachment of the map. I put a map in there. And so there's actually two separate maps. And so I'll kind of remind all of you how this works. And Gary, this is a little bit new to you, but there's two separate things that you create. You create an economic development area. So in this circumstance, if you look at that map, the larger map with the bigger area is the economic development area. That's the area that we establish a baseline for and we can capture taxes from. And then there's a second area, which is a smaller area that's called an allocation area. The allocation area is where we actually capture the taxes that will specifically go back to reimbursing the bond. So these bonds that we're talking about doing to help the developer are developer purchase bonds. So we specifically only want to capture their revenue to help them pay back their bonds. If some of these other areas develop, we would develop them as separate allocation areas so that the taxes from their projects are specifically paying back the cost of the infrastructure for their projects. So you'll notice that on those two maps. If you notice, one's an economic development area and one's an allocation area. I think that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys have. Mitchell, I don't know, do you have anything you'd like to add, or did I misspeak on anything?
No, the only thing I was going to add was a note that I had nothing to add, and that was a very, really good description of how the process works and what you're looking at. Ryan's got this down pat.
Good. I just have one question, where it talks about the area partial list and a list of property owners. Have they been contacted about this proposal?
Not all of them. As part of the process, they will be notified. They don't get notified before you start the process, but once you do start the process, they are notified. I will tell you, the majority of the property owners already know. There's probably 3 that don't know. And we just identified their parcels as opportunities for economic development. So there's no negative to them to being in the economic development area. Actually, it's quite the opposite. It actually provides some value to them if they are wanting to sell their land. So typically, if someone doesn't want to sell their land, they may say, I don't want it to be in your economic development area because that will make it more attractive to developers. But other than that, there's no real negative to them.
And plus, they'll have the opportunity to voice their support or opposition in a public hearing. So,
Absolutely. Yep.
okay. That answered everything that I had.
Any other questions, comments on the resolution?
Nope, I don't. I mean, I moved. Are we ready to move forward?
Sure.
I'm
I
sorry, I
moved
got
to
a
accept the resolution. Oh, sorry, Grant, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're fine. I'm sorry. I jumped in late there. Ryan, I got a quick question. So with approving this, would, I guess, would we also have the opportunity to approve, I guess, help me understand, the yellow area, would that also give us the opportunity to approve funding for the east side of Dan Jones Road to allocate or to allow capacity for this development in the blue area? Or am I potentially getting things crossed up here?
No, you're okay. So the answer to your question is yes. So you can use funding from any of the allocation areas to be, as long as it's in or serving the TIF district.
Okay.
But we would earmark specifically the allocation area as the area that's going to be used to pay back the bonds. So then if there's excess revenue, you could use that excess revenue from that allocation area to fund projects in other places in the economic development area, which is why you want the larger economic development area.
Right. Okay. Because right now the 100 South it terminates at Dan Jones right now. Correct. The new development or the new road design.
The new road design, it goes from Dan Jones all the way to Ronald Reagan Parkway.
Right, and it terminates
It
at
does stop at
Ronald
Ronald
Reagan.
Reagan Yes,
Correct.
correct. It doesn't extend beyond 100 South, which that's the Avon Economic Development Area.
Okay.
So it dead ends on the north side of County Road 200 South, or of
Okay.
100 South, I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Sorry about that, Jason.
Oh, no, you're all good. Hey, no, I mean, any questions? That's what we want to make sure we're all comfortable with it.
Yeah, apologies, Grant. I think I started jumping a little bit there too, so
Oh,
apologies.
you're fine.
Any other questions, comments regarding the pending resolution? I think I heard a motion on the floor earlier on to approve.
I'll second it.
Harold Heiser? You're muted, Harold, but I saw your voice say 4. But
4.
thank you. Gary?
4.
Bill?
4.
Grant?
4.
Jason?
4.
And it passed 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Ryan, any other business?
I do not have any other business.
So as of right now, will we be tentatively meeting via Zoom again next month, or is that kind of up in the air right now?
I think as of now, I tentatively plan on meeting via Zoom, and then we'll let you guys know if conditions are otherwise.
Very good.
We're close.
Yeah, it sounds like we've made a lot of headway here in the last few weeks. That's a good thing.
Yep.
All right. I guess at this point, I will move to adjourn, and we'll see you all next month. Stay safe and warm, and hopefully not slippery, everybody.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks,
I'll
guys.
second your
too.
motion.
Thank you.